Hello and welcome to the Malika Writes channel. My name is Malika and today we'll be doing a little bit of a get to know me. So I have some green tea for today as the weather is looking up. Feels like it'll be a lot warmer this weekend, which is good news for all those going out this weekend. The London lockdown has been lifted, so I'll probably be going to a few more cafes in the coming weeks. So yes, a get to know me video. So I was born and raised in southeast London. Around the age of 8, I decided I wanted to be a writer, and I haven't really changed my mind since. If I were to describe myself, I would say serious. I do tend to, I wouldn't say a workaholic, but I do tend to spend most of my time doing some sort of work. I really love reading books. It kind of comes with wanting to be a writer. I don't think you can be or say you want to be a writer if you don't read a lot. As James Baldwin said, read, 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 and when you can read no more, then write. And that is really the motto that I follow. I love tea, which actually gave birth to one of my nicknames, which is Polly, which comes from a nursery rhyme that starts with Polly put the kettle on. So that's where that nickname came from. I really do love music, so I'm a big fan of classical music. Every morning my mum, going to school, my mum would have classical FM on, so I kind of grew up listening to classical FM. If it wasn't VeggieTales, it was classical FM. So yes, classical music is a really big part of who I am because of that. I also like jazz music. I'm a big fan of rock. I do love Afrobeats as well. What else? Oh yes, and I do like a little bit of Bollywood music and K-pop. I think the K-pop phase came at... When did I discover K-pop? 2014? Yeah, 2014. Well, I knew about it in 2013, but then I actually started listening to it in 2014, and I never had an issue with the fact that I couldn't understand the language. I'm not Nigerian, but I grew up listening to a lot of Nigerian music, and I don't understand Yoruba or Igbo, so I was used to not understanding the lyrics of what I was listening to. Even though I do have I wouldn't say fixation, but I do like to, I would go out of my way to look up the lyrics, just so I know what I'm actually listening to. So what books do I like to read? I love fantasy. So my favourite author of all time is J.R.R. Tolkien. He is basically, in my opinion, one of the best writers to have ever lived. His work is a big part of what I use as inspiration. J.K. Rowling is also a big inspiration to me. She's in my top 5. She's not my favourite author, but she's in my top 5, mainly because Harry Potter had a lot, it did a lot for me when I was growing up. It was actually the first proper big book that I read. So, you know, when you're little, you start with the little books, your Winnie the Pooh books, and then as you progress you get to the big books, you know, the ones that have no pictures and just letters in them. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was my first big book, and I really did love it, and I got fully immersed in it. My Hogwarts house is Slytherin. I don't think they said. Every time I've ever taken the various quizzes that are on the internet, I always get Slytherin. I got Ravenclaw once, but I always get Slytherin otherwise. What else? I have a bunch of favourite authors. I think the list is too long. If I had to give every single author that I'm a fan of, this video would go on forever. But just off the top of my head, Tolkien, George R. Martin, J.K. Rowling, as I've mentioned, Margaret Atwood, let's see, Stephen King. I'm a big fan of Stephen King. I've read his On Writing, which was a big help for me in my journey. Who else? I'm also a really big fan of C.S. Lewis. I really did love his works. I think they were really amazing. Leo Tolstoy, and let's see, who else? Khalid Hussein, Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns. Two of the best books I've ever read, and that's a tall claim to make, but I'm willing to die on that mountain. He is a brilliant author, and The Kite Runner, I think The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns, those are the only two books I can think of that made me cry. It's difficult to make me cry, but those two books made me cry. As in, I had to put the books down for a moment to just gather myself. The emotions were just too much for me. In terms of children's books, let's see, I like Darren Shane. I think he is really good. He kind of introduced me to this concept of really making your character suffer in a really graphic and horrible way, and I loved that instantly. I love making characters really suffer. I love making them go through the worst imaginable scenario and making them, develop and grow out of that. I don't think it always has to be as graphic as, monsters with mouths on their hands eating your parents alive. I don't think it always has to be that bad, but there needs to be something that really breaks your character and really rips them apart inside, and I do love that process of just tearing up your characters, because I think it makes you care for the character more, and I love it when people read stories and they really love a character, and then a few chapters down the line that character either dies or goes through something horrific. It's like Maedhros in the Silmarillion. We loved him as a character, and then when he gets strung up on a mountainside, it's heart-wrenching, and it made us love him all the more because he came out stronger after that experience than he was before. And I think everyone loves the Feanorians. They're just everyone's favorite dysfunctional family. I think they are my favorite family, and I love them for all their flaws, and I love them for them. I think too often in the fandoms we change the character in order to suit the image that we have of them in our heads. We move them around, we give them certain characteristics or certain things that we have added, when I personally think it's best to leave them as the author wrote them. As a writer myself, I wouldn't say it irks me, but it is slightly grating when people take a character that you have developed and they turn it into something different. But we'll discuss that more in one of my upcoming videos, which is about the Draco Malfoy fetish. Oh yes, we're going there. For all the people who ship Draco and Hermione, I shall see you in that video. So, moving on from that, who else do I really admire in the writing world? Diane Setterfield, that woman. I really do love The 13th Tale. I think it's a brilliant book. It was a very interesting read. I love the way she developed the characters, and it was heart-wrenching. I love books that tug at your heartstrings, but they don't do it in a way that's just it's amateurish. They make characters that are real and flawed, and they still manage to draw us in by exposing that human commonality. There's nothing like making a character deliberately sympathetic. It takes away from the fun. Show us the human commonality that we all share. Show us our faults and everything that is deep within us in your characters, and we will relate to the character. So I think Diane Setterfield does that very, very well. Donna Tartt, couldn't really make this video without mentioning that she is one of my favourite authors. I think I have the Goldfinch right behind me. Let's look. Okay, here. The Goldfinch is right there behind me. So, what else can I say about myself that doesn't sound like a dating profile? I really do like taking long walks through my neighbouring woods. I think it helps with bringing out the writer's sort of spirit. In terms of music, I forgot to mention one major genre of music that I like, which is Irish and Scottish folk music. That really helps me get into the fantasy mood. Celtic music has a special place in my heart, and yes, I think that's really all that there is to me. Nothing much other. What else can I say before we end this video? I'm very family orientated. Yes, my family is basically the centre of my world. They mean everything to me. So everything I do, I have my family in mind. My mum and dad were a big part of shaping everything that I want to do. They've made my lifestyle possible. So I really do, I'm very grateful for that, and I really do thank them. And yes, they're always on my mind, and everything I do is basically for them. And I think that's basically it about me. I'm fairly straightforward. I read and I write all day. That's basically it. So if you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and share. Tune in on Friday, where we'll be talking more about book reviews and other such more serious topics than this. I hope you now know a little bit more about me, and I hope that this was an informative video. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you have a brilliant weekend. It's sunny outside, so yeah, enjoy your weekend and see you next time.